Good evening.
It looks like we're not in, but
Is it? Are we live? It says live.
Yeah,
Oh, it went live all the way. Hello, everyone. Good evening,
Good
Facebook
evening.
family
What's
and
up?
friends. As you can see, we have an addition tonight to this week's Couples Coaching 101. We have Miss Ayana Tab, who is going to join us for tonight's topic, and she's going to do most of the talking tonight on tonight's topic, which is entitled Parental Power. Parental power. So before we get started with our parental power session, we want to let you know that this is a public forum.
Yes,
Please share the information, but if you do post any comments, know that this is public and that all can see it. If you have a private matter that you have a question about, please send us an email to lifewithoutlimitscc@gmail.com. And remember that this is coaching, and we're going to get started now with our parental power.
All right.
Good evening. Hi.
Good evening. All right, baby.
So, Miss Ayana, take it away.
All right. So, for the first point for tonight is things.
So, describe what we're talking about a little bit before you jump into it. Yeah. Tell us why you wanted to put this together.
Well, my dad really talked to me about coming up here again. Just trying to help parents really understand their child more, their teenager, or even a little child. Just so you know, the relationship is good, the communication is good, and things will always be positive for the most part.
Absolutely. And you know, we only get an opportunity to go around one time as parents. And so with your children, they're only going to be 6 one time, they're only going to be 16 one time. And it's not like we've got like this great insight into, you know, what to do, what not to do. And I think for everybody, obviously that's different because all families are unique. But we wanted to put something together where it'll give a little more insight into how things that we do as parents and how your kids perceive those things, and see what helps, what's not helpful, and just gain some insight into that. I thought that would be a great call tonight, and Ayana stepped up to the plate big time and put this entire lesson together for us tonight. So we appreciate that, baby. So go ahead.
Yeah, just as my dad was saying, it's only like a one-time thing, and it's something you learn as you go, because you can really prepare for a child, but everything with kids are really unpredictable, so you can never know. All right, so for the first point for tonight is number 1, things that parents should know. So I put for A, for some kids, yelling doesn't work. I know for me, you can really yell. For me, it's not going to get the point across. I'm going to just tune you out. I'm not really going to pay attention. And then after the fact, you know, it's probably going to make me feel a little upset or something like that, rather than making me want to do what I was asked to do.
Mm-hmm. And so, yelling, obviously we do yell as parents, and we did. And so how'd that make you feel when we would yell like that?
It was just like, why can't we just sit down and talk about it?
Okay.
And now, obviously, it was something that clearly made my parents really upset to the point where they wanted to yell about it.
Right. And we know y'all don't do anything like that.
Yeah, no. Kids are innocent.
Yes.
We don't do anything.
Yes, so pure.
Nothing is our fault. All right, so for the next point is you have to put your foot down so they know you mean business. Some parents, no rules, freedom, no structure, as my mom calls it, and the kid runs the relationship, everything. The kid runs their life. Now, for me, I don't know how I would really be with no structure, because even when, I don't really have as many rules, there's still some structure that I do have to follow, and I think that just keeps you on track. And I know some old friends who just run all over their parents, and I'm just like, that could never be me.
No.
And then to kind of contradict that a little bit, if you're extremely strict with your child, then they're not going to want to come to you about things. They're going to sneak around a lot, and they feel like whatever they tell you, you're going to get upset, you're not going to understand. So it has to be like a good balance. And most times if the child is really open with the parents, then the parents will, let them do pretty much what they want to do.
And this is, if I could say something about that, this is always just a balance for me. And it's really, like you said, it's a balance. But it was just such a challenge because, you don't want to be too much and you don't want to be too little. And it's like, finding that line where you could be, just right there as a parent and being effective. What do you think about that, Michelle?
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I zoned out because I was focusing on my next question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry because my question. I'm sorry, y'all. It's been a long week, and it's still beginning. I know it's only Wednesday, but anyway, so I was thinking about a thought of, so if someone has been a yeller or or inconsistent, not putting their foot down, what is the best way, like if a parent recognizes that they need to do something different, what's the best way, Ayana, for them to try to approach their child to say, what do I need to do? Like, what is the best way for them to talk to their child about that?
Just to figure out what they need to change in their parenting style or applying structure, all of that.
Let's start with the parenting style.
I think,
because I can be a yeller, that's me. I'm a yeller. That's probably why that was first on her list. But I also learned that she tunes me out when I yell. So I learned that too. So it doesn't always work. It doesn't benefit either one of us. If I'm yelling, I'm all upset, and then she's tuning me out, which also teaches other things that maybe I don't value her enough to come and say, hey, I was really upset that you didn't do X, Y, Z, versus, why didn't you do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. So,
yeah, I think it's better just for the parent to come to the child and just have a sit-down conversation. And that can just solve a lot and figure out what the child has to change in their actions and what the parents can do to be better parents and what the child can do, to better themselves also.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that we've tried to do, and it hadn't always worked and always wasn't that great at doing it, is just being open to feedback too. To hearing what you guys, why are you laughing?
You're not really open to feedback. Just some memories of us, of Daddy being open with us, asking what he do to be a better parent, and it just did a 360, and that's probably not the best way.
Oh, don't put me out on Front Street.
I'm just saying.
She's being honest. You are kind of headstrong.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It takes,
but you come around.
But sometimes it does take a few times before you get it right, and we're humans, and that's the thing about this. So often we do it one time and it goes bad, and we just leave it alone. We don't talk about it. We scoop it under the rug. We go in the room and throw it under the pillow, and we don't talk about it. And next thing you know, you have a big dysfunctional mess on your hands, which is not really dysfunctional. It's functional in some means, but is it productive? So it may be years later before you figure it out. By then, there may be layers of anger, hurt, guilt, shame that you really need professional help and therapy to work through it.
All right, so for the second point for tonight is what I have learned from dealing with these two for 18 years and more to come. The first thing is that they really do have your best interests at hand. And it's just been a couple times when it was a group of people. I always think of this in almost a lot. Where it's a group of friends, my mom didn't particularly want me hanging around them. So when I was hanging around them, everything that she told me would replay in my head. Don't hang out with them. They trouble. They this, they that. And it would just replay in my head. And it really wasn't till after I stopped being friends with them that I really saw they really had my back more than so-and-so did or anything like that. And it's just they always look out for you. And as a child, elementary school, middle school, you don't really see that because you don't really understand, as they say. But once you get older, more experience, more wisdom, you definitely understand that. They always have your back. And even when stuff with school, dealing with my brother, they were always there fighting his battles and all that stuff. So for the second point is it's okay to argue. It's going to be arguments. It's going to be disagreements. And most times, that's really when you're able to get out your feelings. So if we get in an argument, mama's going to come and say, well, you didn't do the dishes, stuff like that. And then, I might come back with, you didn't do this, you didn't let me do that, So I think it's a good way to get out your feelings.
And I want to interject right there because when she talked about parents having the best interests at hand, and using the example of some scenarios with some friends, she told us. I mean, it was a heated discussion, but she let us know. She said, "I'm not going to see that right now," and it was just like a whoa. It was an eye opener for George and I because we were like, right, those are her friends. Like, she's not going to see what we see as 40-something-year-old and 50-year-old parents because she's not our age. She doesn't have that experience yet. But in time, she may see. But if not, maybe we're wrong about this one. But for the most part, we were able to kind of back off a little bit and let her learn and just be there in case there was a time when she did need some additional support around dealing with that issue. All right.
And I wanted to say something too about it's okay to argue, and I think, and arguing is not necessarily, I don't see it as really being a bad thing, but a thing of where you're imparting philosophy. And, philosophy, drives, thought process drives philosophy, and philosophy drives behavior. Behavior drives consequences. And so, or benefits for that matter. But I think discussions is where you impart your philosophy, your belief, and you impart that with your children. They don't necessarily have to embrace that, but at least they know where you are with that. You don't have to agree with it. You're not going to agree because sometimes you don't see what other people see, and that's okay as long as you know where I stand. So.
All right, so the next point under what I have learned is that us kids kind of see their parents as superheroes, and we forget that they have feelings too. And my parents have said that to us a couple times dealing with certain situations where they thought that me and my brother were ungrateful. And my mom would be like, we have feelings too. And kind of like she said earlier, it was kind of like an eye-opener because, you don't really see them express emotions other than anger or when they're proud of you or stuff like that. So you kind of forget that you can hurt their feelings as a child. And, so that really makes us think, we just got to be careful what we do and think about their feelings also.
And I want to say a little bit more about that because the fact that, again, another eye-opening, just looking over Ayana's notes on this and discussing them prior to us going live, that she saw us as superheroes. So if you think about the pedestal that you're on as parents to be your child's superhero, that speaks that you are the most important person. They view you basically almost as if you're perfect, that you can do anything, be anything. So having that type of thought about your parent gives you the power to guide where that child needs to go, to guide where that teen needs to go, to be able to have those discussions about certain life experiences and things that they should be able to do.
Yeah, and if I could elaborate on that a little bit for a little more understanding on that, from a psychology standpoint, it's better for a child to see themselves as flawed than to see their parents as flawed. It's better for them to see their parents as being perfect than and something wrong with them. So if there's a problem, believe it or not, kids look at themselves and they say, well, I'm the problem. I'm the situation. That's one of the reasons why suicide among teenagers is so high, because they blame themselves. Okay, and they want to see their parents as perfect,
Right.
because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
That's just how developmentally how it is.
And it's how it's how kids process. You know, an example of that is if you take divorce, for example, a child probably is not going to like the next person you're dating or that you married, because a child's fantasy is that their mom and dad are going to get back together, even if you're living in separate homes, that you're divorced. So that is a conversation that you actually need to have if that's your situation. But again, that's their formative way of development and thinking and really growing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. We have time for the third point?
Uh-huh.
All right. The third point. The hardest part about being a child.
Ooh.
First thing.
Let's hear it, because they were moving out at 15 because of the Tab household. When they were about 10, they had their plans. They were moving out at 15 because there was too many rules in the Tab house. Okay, go ahead. Let's hear it.
We were moving into the apartment complex called Legacy. I remember D-Trey made a whole song about it. All right, but the first point is being told no. Not being able to do what you want to do, and it's like, what can you really do? Your parents said no. It's nothing you can really do. I mean, you can try to convince them, but other than that, I mean, if you got a parent like this one, there's really no convincing them. But if you got one like this one, you might could ease and get your way. And things like that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's how we balance each other out. Okay.
Yeah, they try to. All right, second point. Not being treated your age. Being treated like a child even when you don't act like one. It belittles you. I know I experienced this a lot, and we've already kind of had a conversation about that. And that kind of ties with my first point of being told no. And, you know, as an officially a legal adult, you know, I feel like sometimes I shouldn't really have to hear no when I have to do certain things, especially when I have my own money to do certain things and stuff like that, and I can drive and a license and a car and all that good stuff. But when I feel like I'm being told no for no reason, that's when I start to feel like I'm being treated like a child, or sometimes I feel like I'm being put in the same box as my little brother just because he is my little brother. But you know, that's not really many occasions, it's rare occasions, but kids still do feel that way.
Yeah, and that's something that we've talked about, and that we have kind of agreed, I guess you could say agree to disagree, or just ask that Ayana, say, Ayana, just trust me. Because sometimes as a mom, you have that instinctual feeling, you have the spirit of discernment. I'm very intuitive. Times that I know of times when my children, they have had injuries. I knew it, and I wasn't anywhere near them. So I'm very intuitive that way. And sometimes I just get that instinctive gut feeling that you need to stay home today, or you need to stay home tonight, or I just don't feel right about it. And it's hard to hear no in those cases, but as a parent, you have to trust that. And even though they may be upset with you, you have to go with really what you're feeling true to be a concern for you at that time.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to say too, as a parent, I think it's okay to say no. And I think, it's one of the things that I had to learn to get comfortable with, saying no. You don't want to deprive your children. You want them to be able to experience things and to do things, but everything comes with a time and a season, and it may not be the season right now, and so I'm okay with saying no. Okay, nothing wrong with no. It's
no, and go to bed.
It's one of the most powerful words in the English language. If you want to know how powerful the word is, think about that 1-year-old, or the first words that kids learn is mama and maybe dada, and then after that it's no. Okay, come in. No.
Yeah. Interesting that maybe I'll try to put this link up if I can find this post. I clicked on an article or something, and it was this little boy who the dad recorded him in the middle of the night, like tearing the house up. It was 2 a.m. It's the security camera for their house. And this little boy is doing somersaults on the furniture. He's jumping on the chair. I mean, the video is only maybe 30 or 40 seconds long. And I'm watching this video, okay, and then all of my social work things start clicking for me. And I'm like, this kid is just, he's acting out. I mean, I wouldn't say that he had a psychological disorder, but he's certainly acting out on the restrictions that's probably been placed on him throughout the day. And so I got through the end of the video and then read some of the clips, and that's exactly what it was. All the rules that Dad had during the day, and when they're watching, he got up at 2 a.m. and he broke them. He flicked on the lights back and forth. He just kept flicking the lights on and off, on and off, on and off, jumping on the chair. And it was just, it's the weirdest but funniest thing, to see. And I was like, I'm glad that child was doing that because, it may create some anxieties and other issues later on down the road. So hopefully they had a discussion and maybe they loosen up some of the rules that they have around the house and pick a sofa. Like my son would not have the acrobat and skills that he has to do parkour and gymnastics. Had I just said, no, don't jump on the sofa. Well, I found a sofa in the house that probably would be good for him to jump on. And that's how he became a self-taught gymnast, basically. But anyway, we're out of time. We want to give the tablet of the week. And the tablet of the week, you want me to
go ahead?
Say it? Okay. So the tablet of the week is we just want you to sit down with your child, your team this week. Yeah. And, find out what is something that I could do that maybe would support you better as a parent, that I could do to be a better parent to you, to open up the communication, whatever that is. Ask your child that this week, and then you guys have a discussion about it. And then we have another point, and we will do that next week. So remember that this is a public forum. Anything that you post or comment is public, and this is not counseling. It is coaching. And if you have a private matter, please send it to lifewithoutlimitscc@gmail.com. And we will finish and see you all next week.
Hey, Miss Brown.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please share the video. And remember, we empower the people that build the relationships. Thanks for watching.